I get a lot of questions about what software I'm using to develop with. Frequently, people will see in my IDE in the screencast and wonder what software that is. This software is Newsphere PHPed. I have been using this software for a few years. I like it. It's fast. Previously, I was using Zen Studio, and it was a very nice IDE, but it was a bit heavy and slow to load and just a bit sluggish. I found that PHPed resolved those problems. It's a lot faster. It's still fully featured, so I can still get things like built-in tooltips with reference to documentation, which is good. However, this is just the last you're going to see of that. I'm not using this anymore. Goodbye, PHPed. Now I am using Sublime Text 2. You might have heard about this. There's been some buzz lately. It's a very lightweight little editor that's available on Windows, OS X, and Linux. It's pretty much all developed by one guy, as far as I understand. And he's been doing a really great job with it. This is by far the most lightweight, fastest editor I've ever used. That being said, it has some pretty amazing features. Here I have my standard sidebar with the ability to search out files, click. Notice how as I click these, I can see the file over here, but there's no tab and they don't stay up. If I double click, then it stays up with the tab. So it's nice to preview files without actually completely opening them. I really don't use the sidebar anymore. So this is here for when I need it, which is not frequently. I use a feature they have called Search Anywhere. So I pop this up, I type the file that I want to find, and then I hit enter. So here's the user model. I can easily pop up the controller. And here's the controller. And you can see when you're searching, it has a search index over here that increases depending on a number of factors. One of them is how closely your typed in string matches the file name. And the others are how recently this file has been opened, for example. So if there's 30 files that have the word comment in them, and you've been specifically working with one for the past day or so, the one you've been working with will be the one that comes up first. So I find that I don't even bother visually referencing these. I type something, hit enter, and it's always the file that I want. Another great feature is the function search. So I can pop this up here. I can just go through each function. This is not exactly the best example here. And you can see that it uses smooth scrolling to scroll to each function. So if I want to go to the logout function, here I am. This editor is extremely extendable. It uses Python, so if you want to create a little Python plugin, you can do just about anything you want. There's a whole slew of available packages that you can install to just have new functionality. That brings us to the command palette. The command palette basically allows you to, it's a lot like the Search Anywhere, but it searches functionality that's built into the system. As you can see, save, etc. I have here a package installed that gives me access to functionality with GitHub. So private gist from selection. So what I can do is highlight some code, pop that up, type gist, and right there, private gist from selection. I hit enter. You'll notice down here, get gist description. I can type whatever, file name, type whatever. And then it's going to go ahead, use the API, and copy the URL to the keyboard. So I paste it here, and if I go to this link, I'll see the code that I highlighted. This is very useful for when you're sending code back and forth, or maybe somebody's debugging your code over IRC or something along those lines, or if you just want to share something with somebody. There's a pretty nice package control system built in, so you can do discover packages, and here down here you see it's loading from the repository. This was made by somebody as a third-party package, so it's just an example of the power that Sublime Text gives developers. So here I can scroll through a number of packages that have been developed and added to the repository. There are new packages here that I haven't seen yet since I last went, so the repository is obviously growing. Let's find a good example here. So PHPed support package. I hit enter, and it'll actually take me to, in my web browser, which you can't see, it'll take me to the page for that plugin, and it'll give me documentation and information about it. I can then install it directly from here. Just choose one of these and it'll download and install right away, and I won't have to restart it. It'll just be immediately available. This application can use TextMate bundles and TextMate color schemes. I'm using a theme called Soda Dark to give it this charcoal gradient look. In here I have my syntax highlighting color scheme, which I created myself when I was 14 years old, I guess, and have moved it from one IDE to the next. If there's any interest in this, I can make it available. There's some more cool functionality, so I can highlight text and just move it around easily. This is not completely crazy. You see this kind of thing on a somewhat regular basis, but it's nice to have. Something a little bit more crazy actually would be multiple cursor support. So here I have all these functions. If I really want to break something, I can just start typing. So it's really nice that this system has this functionality, not because you're necessarily using it a lot in this case, but there are other cases where it's extremely useful. So imagine that we're in a view file for a form. I can use this built-in snippet functionality and type form text and hit tab. Label for name, tab, employee name, tab, enter. Form select, for example. Label for type, employee type, employee. So as you can see, the snippets themselves are also very powerful. This is designed, as I mentioned, by a single developer, and he is very active on this project. You can go to the Sublime Text website, and it links to the User Echo website for Sublime Text 2. And in the User Echo website, you can actually vote up features that you think are important, post bugs that you find, add your own feature requests, and it seems the developer is very seriously working out of User Echo, as many bits of functionality that I've voted up and other people have been voting up have actually been making it into the updates. Sublime Text 2 is still in beta. I'm using it as my only development environment currently, and it's working fine and stable for me completely. But he's releasing updates more often than once per month, and each update has a nice chunk of new functionality. So it's exciting to launch your IDE and have it immediately say, hey, there's an update available. You won't find a faster IDE that's this fully featured. If you happen to know Python or are willing to learn, you can create a plugin that does just about anything you'd like. I've created a couple little plugins myself so that, for example, if I'm editing a file here, I can hit F5 in the editor and it will reload the page that I'm working on in my web browser, which is on a different monitor. So it's nice. I don't have to keep switching back and forth if I want to see something updated on the web browser. The cost of this is actually quite low for a development environment. Usually you're expecting to pay, more than $200. PHPed is, I think, $250. Zen Studio is more expensive, I believe. This editor is available for, I think, $59, which is pretty much a steal. I'm basically sold on this functionality, and I have, like I said, stopped using everything else. I definitely think that you should give it a try. There's a 30-day trial. See how you feel. There's a little bit of a learning curve because you need to know a couple hotkeys to bring up the command palette. Control-Shift-P to bring up the search anywhere. Control-P to bring up the function search. Control-R. But really, that's it. like I said, it supports all the TextMate bundles and snippets, so you don't have to start over if you've been using TextMate, and it has a really nice number of tools that you can implement if you dig into it a little bit. New snippet, new plugin. You can record macros. They have build systems. There's quite a bit of functionality in here to just poke around in. The documentation could use a little work, but it's a young project. So I definitely think you should give it a try, and let me know what you think, or if you think that there are some bits of functionality that are missing that you absolutely have to have. I'd like to know about that too, because I might be overlooking something. In the past 2 projects that I've built from scratch, I've been using this editor, and I haven't run across anything that I needed that this didn't have. Anyway, this is Sublime Text 2. Give it a shot.